What's up everybody, it's your girl Diane and we're gonna get right into this video today. It's all about how to be charismatic. So here are 9 best habits of likable people. If a conversation ends after, so what do? Things can get awkward. At this point, we don't know what else to say. We stink at small talk. We are shy. We are insecure. We're introverted. Whatever the reasoning or logic, awkward conversations are, well, awkward. It's uncomfortable for everyone. But no one wants to feel awkward. We want to be liked. We want to be charming. We want to be charismatic. But that's a natural instinct rooted in our psychological desire to belong. So that brings up the question, what are the psychological habits of the most likable, charismatic, and charming people? To uncover the trends, we dove deep into research and studies of behavioral psychology. So, if you want to transform from awkward and shy to charming everyone you meet, continue to watch this video for the following tips validated by countless studies and research. So let us begin with the first step 1. They have positive and negative empathy. People who possess positive empathy don't get jealous. They get excited. They're thrilled when someone else decides to quit their job and travel in South America for 6 months. Someone else gets their dream promotion or hired at their dream company. Someone else gets their business acquired for $100 million. Negative empathy is the ability to comfort others when they're down. People who possess this trait will help someone when their family member gets diagnosed with cancer, support someone when they get fired from their dream company, comfort someone when they break up with their significant other of 6 years. Positive and negative empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and genuinely feel what they are feeling, either good or bad. In fact, we even had a part in our brain dedicated to empathy called the right supramarginal gyrus that triggers empathetic responses. We are physiologically and psychologically hardwired to help people. Example, feel empathetic. The trick is feeling it for both positive and negative events. Moving on to step number 2, they are humble. This quote sums it up perfectly. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Read that again and let it sink in. People who are genuinely enjoyable to be around are humble, not arrogant. They don't wave awards in people's faces. They don't name drop for the sake of sounding important. They don't toot their own horns. They don't have an aura of I am the coolest person in the world. Of course, it's healthy to be confident and sustain a high self-esteem. But there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. And the difference is humility. It separates those enjoyable to be around versus those you can't stand. There is a fine line, and people who are enjoyable to be around avoid egocentric, self-centered bragging. Moving on to step number 3, they are vulnerable. Vulnerability is uncertainty. It's putting yourself out there to risk embarrassment or judgment. That definition can become foggy. So here are a few examples. Vulnerability is approaching a stranger in a coffee shop, asking them on a date. Vulnerability is giving a presentation to 195 people even when you're scared of public speaking. Vulnerability is stating your conflicting opinion. When 9 out of 10 people in a room all believe the same thing. Let's be clear, being vulnerable isn't easy. It's one of the most emotionally challenging hurdles one can face, overcoming the fear of being judged or criticized. Yet incredibly, likable people aren't afraid to open up. They aren't begging for approval from others, so they have no desire to come off as a perfectionist. Furthermore, they realize that those who do appear as perfect may actually be less likable. When someone appears perfect, we distance ourselves from them. When they appear flawed, we're attracted to them. This psychological phenomenon is known as the pratfall effect. So what is the pratfall effect? By making a mistake or admitting to a mistake, we become more likable. Studies prove people connect with those who admit their flaws versus those who appear as perfect all the time. By being vulnerable, we pride ourselves for failure. Through failure, we become more likable. Thus, vulnerability has the power to trigger likability. Here's a saying: out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength. Keep that in mind. Moving on to step number 4, they have a sense of humor. Think about the Old Spice commercial if you saw that. Now, don't you just like Old Spice a little bit more? They're leveraging a psychological effect called the peripheral route to persuasion. Since it's a low cognition product, example, I don't think of what deodorant to buy for more than a few seconds. They're leveraging humor as a liking cue to create a subconscious inkling to purchase Old Spice as a quick decision amongst competitors. In layman's terms, that means that when I'm walking through any store, example CVS, searching for the magical slimy stick of chemicals, what is deodorant made of anyway, and see Old Spice, I can't help but grabbing it. Validating their logic, in a study conducted by the American Psychological Association, people who were exposed to humorous ads for low cognition products were vastly more likely to purchase the product. But here's the crazy part. People hate ads. So, if ads alone can make someone smile, think about it. When is the last time someone you just met cracked a joke and you thought, wow, I hate that guy or girl? Probably never. It seems obvious, but people who are enjoyable to be around genuinely have a great sense of humor. Moving on to step number 5, they are present. How frequently does this happen? When our phones vibrate, we are curious. Who texted us? So, we check to find out. As a result, we're distracted from the face-to-face conversation. This makes it seemingly impossible to have a productive face-to-face conversation. Similarly, it's difficult talking to someone who is completely tuned out of a conversation. A wandering mind is far more difficult to fix than clicking a button on your phone. But just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible. Moving on to step number 6. They are genuinely interested in everyone. Look at this photo. When you see this, how does it make you feel? You're like 99% of humans. It makes you smile and say, "Aw, give me that doggy." Why do dogs make us feel this way? Why are they so lovable? Perhaps because they are genuinely excited to greet everyone. They don't pick and choose who they are excited to meet for the first time or see for the second time. Remember how likable people are, humble. Well, they're also not pretentious. That means they don't hold a chip on their shoulder when dealing with someone who is under them. They are genuinely interested in what everyone has to say. They want to hear their story. Here's a great quote. Charisma is not so much getting people to like you as getting people to like themselves when you're around. Moving on to step number 7. They avoid social narcissism. Guess what the favorite topic of conversation is for a social narcissist? Themselves. They want to talk about their stories, their problems, their successes, their complaints, their family, and their friends. 45 minutes later, it's time to split ways, and they haven't once asked about the other person's past, present, or future. Instead of rambling about how amazing or terrible their lives are, likable people ask questions. They dive deep into the minds of the person they're talking to. Not surface level, small talk questions such as "Where are you from?" or "What do you do?" or "How about that weather today?" But they dive deep, asking open-ended questions, uncovering the emotions and motivations of people. They ask questions that will make the other person feel good, or ask themselves questions. They ask open-ended questions. They ask why. They show genuine interest. Moving on to step number 8. They are generous and altruistic. According to Adam Grant, the youngest tenured and highest rated professor at Wharton School of Business, there are 3 types of people. 1, the taker, 2, the matcher, and 3, the giver. So let's break these down. The taker is an egoist. They tend to get more than they give. They believe the world is a competitive dog-eat-dog world. As a result, they put their needs before everyone else. This strategy works for short-term gain, but it's nearly impossible to sustain. The matcher is someone who seeks balance between giving and taking. They seek fairness and equality. If they put too much into a relationship without getting anything in return, they'll eventually give up. They believe in even exchanges and trading favors. The giver is altruistic. It's a rare breed of human who doesn't look for anything in return, whereas takers are focused on receiving all of the time, and matchers are focused on receiving at least some of the time. Givers don't even think about it. By giving and giving and giving, you also increase your chances of receiving value in return. It's incredible how far you'll go by being generous and altruistic, putting everyone else's needs before your own. Finally, step number 9. They reciprocate praise and take blame. When a likable person is praised for their work, they typically have a response like this: "Thank you so much. However, I'd like to emphasize that this was a team effort. I played only one small role in hitting this goal. Jen, Sam, Mike, and Kelsey, you were all crucial to making this happen, and we wouldn't have done it without you. In other words, they give credit where credit is due. When they recognized for a success, they shift the praise toward everyone else. They give praise and empower people without expecting anything in return, so they aren't afraid to take the blame. Here's a great saying: a good leader is a person who takes a little more than his share of the blame and a little less than his share of the credit. So to everyone out there, I hope these tips are great and will help you out to be a more charismatic person. So with that said, here are the steps recap. 1. They are empathetic. 2. They are humble. 3. They are vulnerable. 4. They have a sense of humor. 5. They are present. 6. They are genuinely interested in everyone. 7. They avoid social narcissism. 8. They are generous and altruistic. And 9. They reciprocate praise and take the blame. So again, these are the steps to helping you be more of a charismatic person. Hope that it has been helpful. If it has, please subscribe to my channel, as I will be continuing to do more motivational and inspirational videos like these. And of course, give this video a big thumbs up, and don't forget to click on the notification bell for future video uploads. See you soon in my next video. Have a blessed day. Bye!